Hello lads, bit of an unusual upload. I had to do a podcast for one of my projects in school. I tell you boy, I'm doing transition year this year and it is so much better than last year because I don't have to study for any tests.
You who seek an end to love, you who seek an end to love will yield to business. What the fuck is that?
These easy ass projects to do which I can just upload to my YouTube channel and get free content. I did do a small bit of editing, removing like my full legal name and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. So anyway, I hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Aviation. This ain't your grandmother's podcast.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Fox 2. Flash 1 Bandit.
This is where real men
I've had over 40 pizzas in the last 30 days.
talk about real airplanes with really, really cool guns.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to...
Because this is Aviation. I'd like to start this podcast by talking about my favourite World War II fighter plane, the P-51 Mustang. Alright, this is on you guys now. Why do you think it's so good? Well, it can outclimb a Spitfire, outturn a Messerschmitt, had cockpit armour, self-sealing fuel tanks, and 6 50 caliber machine guns, and it just looks damn awesome.
What sort of history does this thing have?
I'm glad you asked. Well, the airframe itself goes all the way back to 1936 with the P-36. Now, this thing was as slow as a disabled man in a wheelchair with a flat tire and a handbrake on going uphill. But the competitor's aircraft was somehow even slower, so they decided that the P-36 was the best they could get. Damn, I done that all in one take, that's impressive.
And how the hell did this end up being one of the best fighters of World War II?
Well, near the start of World War II, it would be upgraded into the P-40, which had way better firepower with the 650 cals and a way better engine, and it became famous for its survivability.
And then they upgraded the P-40 into the P-51?
Sort of. The Royal Air Force wanted some Curtiss P-40s under license by North American Aviation, but then they decided to make the P-51, which would later become the main American World War II fighter.
So what about the Spitfire, that other famous Allied World War II aircraft?
Well, personally, I don't really like the Spitfire. I don't believe it was as good as the other fighters, because the Mustang and BF-109 could just outclimb it and dive on it. So an experienced 109 pilot would probably beat an experienced Spitfire pilot. Although I will admit, a person such as myself, who always goes around saying that aircraft such as the Spitfire isn't that good, will inevitably face consequences. For me, the British government has paid off every decently attractive woman anywhere I go to completely ignore me. It's very tragic.
Connor, why do you believe this?
Well, it is the only option that makes sense. There was this one time where the McDonald's cashier was acting shy around me and she had a nervous smile when I walked up to her. It was probably because I was committing armed robbery, but I'll take what I can get.
Oh wow, that's very interesting, Connor.
Yeah, there was this one time when my dad had one too many pints and decided to go for a little drive. One thing led to another and me dad dropped a 25 kill streak on a bus full of orphans, and apparently after that the correct response is not cowabunga, he's on a mad one, rock on dude, because some woman started shouting at me. Like, I thought I had a right to freedom of speech, but whatever. She started waving her hands in the air, saying how horrible I am, with these long nails painted silver. I was like, no need to be so mean, Wolverine.
Connor, this podcast is about fighter aircraft, not how you're crap with women.
I'm not. I'm perfectly fine with... Alright, let's talk about the Japanese aircraft. The AM-6, or Zero, for the big red ovals painted on its wings and sides. Now, this was an interesting aircraft. With this thing, survivability was more of a neat bonus than a necessity.
Now why would you say that?
Well, the Japanese had a strategy I'd like to call very close air support, where they would load up a fighter with bombs and get some lad to plow it into an enemy ship. They done this because things like unmanned guided missiles that were somewhat accurate were not even close to being invented, as they didn't have any of the advanced electronics to make one. Also, I'd like to say this next sentence might sound a bit racist, so kids, cover your ears. So your man Hirohito was like, hey, who needs a ballistics computer when you can just have a small Asian man to do it all for you? On to Germany's last-ditch jet aircraft and rocket aircraft. Me-163 Comet, very stubby, could turn very well, sometimes too well, and it could lead to what the professionals called a Ryanair landing. And because it's so stubby, the pilot had to sit beside and on chemicals that could literally melt you faster than Kim Kardashian standing next to a radiator for too long. Unoriginal joke, but I thought I'd just chuck it in.
That's very interesting. Tell us more about the jets.
Me-262 wasn't too bad. Engines were a bit wonky, but when you compare that to something like the Me-162, the Me-262 might as well be an F-35.
Tell us about the Me-162.
The airplane was made out of wood and glue, but was still faster than 99% of the Allies' planes, and flew using an aviation principle called Kraut Space Magic. If you pissed on it, it fell apart mid-flight. And if it does fall apart mid-flight, make sure you bail out to either the left or right of the plane, not over the top, or you will be sucked into the singular jet engine that would statistically probably be on fire. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I will end this podcast with audio of me falling into a frozen cattle trough. What if I stand on top of this now?